Hey Stitch family, it's Andrew here. I hope you're well. I've got a real treat for you today. From time to time, I will do interviews with members across the Stitch community. I don't do as many of these as I'd like, partially just that I run out of time. Sometimes it's just because lots of members don't feel comfortable maybe getting on camera to share their story with the whole world. But when they do, it's really, really cool because it can really raise awareness of all the different types of things that happen in the Stitch community. Members who are prospectively thinking about joining but not quite sure can find that there are people in the community just like them, or it just really raises awareness about different ways to build companionship, build relationships, and find the things that you need inside the Stitch community. So when I heard about a pair of members who just got married recently, I was interested in getting them to tell their story, particularly when I found out that it was two women who, when they first joined Stitch, weren't even looking for romance. And if they had been, they wouldn't have been looking for a romance with another woman. It has been a really interesting journey for both of them. And we, on Stitch, we are focused on companionship in all its forms. And that means being inclusive for all types of relationships that are out there. So the story from Marcia and Lynmarie, I think I've just got off the call with them. So I've just done the video recording. So this intro I'm recording now after having the chat with them. And it's such a heartwarming story. They're so lovely. It's such a heartwarming story. And it really shares or speaks to a few points about Stitch. One is that it's inclusive for all. No matter who you are, what you're looking for, what your preferences are, race, gender, age, creed, whatever. Stitch is inclusive of everyone and it needs to be welcoming, and that's the sort of community we are. But deeper than that, it highlights that sometimes what you think you're looking for isn't necessarily what you need. And if you open yourself to a range of experiences, you can discover things that can really surprise you. So your story might not be the same as Marcia and Lynmarie's, but if you do open yourself up and don't be fixated on one thing only, you can find some amazing companionship within the community. So enough of that intro. You're going to discover that for yourself. I think you're going to really enjoy it and find both Lynmarie's and Marcia's story inspiring, heartwarming, and really cool. Let's get started, shall we? Here I am with Marcia and Lynmarie. I'm excited to talk to both of you. Both a really interesting story to tell. I think from what you've told me so far, it's that your story into Stitch may be not what you expected to get out of the community, which is why I think it's so wonderful to share that story with other members, because if you go in with one thing in mind, you might be limiting yourself to the possibilities of all the sorts of relationships and friendships and companionship you can build. So why don't we kick off though I'll start with you, Marcia. Just tell us a bit about when you joined Stitch, where were you, and what were you why did you join the community?
I joined Stitch in February of 2024. I was living here where I live now in Martinsburg, West Virginia. And I had retired the month before. And after that, there was nothing to do. And I just sort of crashing and burning emotionally. There was nothing to do, nobody to talk to, and I called my son crying one day, and he said, "You have got to get out of the house." So I went to the library, and the library in Martinsburg is not a wholesome location. I mean, in the library is okay, but it's not like there are peers there. And I was just going through Facebook one evening and found this ad for Stitch. So I joined just to have somebody to talk to and not have to go to a place I wouldn't normally go to. I mean, how many conversations can you pick up in a gas station? Because I don't go to bars.
No, who does? Well, some people do. And so is it fair to say at that point in time when you first joined, you won't just put friendship on what you were looking for on your Stitch profile?
I only looked for friendship. I was definitely favoring remaining single the rest of my life.
Yeah. And had you been married previously or
yes.
not? Yeah, you had.
Yes.
Been. Yeah. So when you joined, there wasn't a huge Stitch community in your area at that
Nothing.
time? Nothing. Yeah, 'cause it's quite a rural area.
You know, some people call Martinsburg a city, but we don't even have a mall. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. All righty. So a good example of one of our smaller locations where people might join and say, well, is there anything here yet? And you, am I right in saying you joined our Pioneer program to try to get more involved in the community? Yeah.
Yes, because that seemed like it would engage skills that I would normally use at work.
Yeah, good. Well, we're not going to talk about the Pioneer program, but just for anyone who is watching, we've got, for people, you know, who join in smaller towns, we have a program to help get the community started and stuff like that. And it gets you connected with other people across the community in other locations. And the only reason I'm raising that is I think a lot of our pioneers, when they join, they discover kind of what Stitch is about. They meet other members who help them understand, you know, we're here to improve lives and all that sort of stuff. So I think you sent me a bunch of personal notes about how thrilled you were to be part of the community. And that was really cool. We're not here to talk about the Pioneer program, but just so you had this entree into, you know, what the community was like. So flipping over to you, Lynmarie, because we'll come back to then how you met. Like you joined, you were not even from the same town?
No, I was from Delaware.
Delaware. So how far away is that?
It's about a 6-hour drive.
And when you joined, tell us about, you know, when you joined and how long ago and what you were looking for as well.
I think I came in right after you did. I joined after you did.
Well, like within 2 weeks of each other.
Yeah. I wasn't on very long, and it was the same thing. I was in a community where there wasn't a lot going on and just needed to know that there was people out there that you could relate to and share your hobbies with and just someone to talk to.
So then how did you then meet Marcia? Like what did you start getting involved in if there wasn't stuff in your local area?
Well, we met on Gary's group, which was a chat and a trivia site and stuff, and we just hit it off.
Just for anyone who's watching, Gary is a member from Texas, I think. Is that right? Yeah.
That's
so
right.
Gary's super creative. Gets involved a lot on setting up virtual activities so people get together over Zoom, and also discussion forums. They do a lot of creative things. So tell us about the sort of things that you were doing on these events with Gary.
There was Trivial Pursuit, I could talk, Pursuit and stuff. I know it. And just
What's the game with
match and
oh geez, sorry,
big time. It's all right.
But so you both were finding yourself on these events together. But then what became? How did you then get connected more on a one-to-one basis? Because I think Lynmarie, you were at the time, you made a mention of you're in a tough situation. Is that right?
I needed to move, and I had enough of Delaware and the apartment place that I was at, and Marcia kept saying, and I've got extra room, come stay here for a while.
Because I think you mentioned to me that on one of the calls, you just happened to mention that you were going to be living out of your car. Is that right? So basically.
Yeah.
A van.
Yeah.
A van.
And it was also ambiguous. It was very clear to me that she was not clear about where and how it was all going to work. You know, and a van is packed to the gills, so where are you going? You know, you're going to be on top, in the middle, or below, everything packed in there. And I said, in my New York City style, you're too old to live in a van. And I said, I have room. Why don't you come stay here? Let's see if we would be good roommates. And then we started talking on the phone, and we texted, we would talk on the phone. And she came down from Delaware April 21st of 2024.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night.
Arrived in the middle of the night. I think you said to me like 2 a.m. or something.
Yep,
What?
2 a.m. Pouring down rain, storming, and I show up at her doorstep. Yep.
And why? Sorry?
Because she had one chair left in the whole apartment and arbitrarily said, oh, I'm going to come down on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
What was it, Thursday that night?
It was Friday.
Friday night.
Yeah.
or you're going to wait
You
till
just said-
Monday? Or I said, just come.
Yeah,
Just
you're correct.
come. So you can tell on the Myers-Briggs, I'm a P and she's a J.
Alrighty, so she arrived, you got a new roommate, and then what happened then? Like you seemed to click.
We hit it off.
Yeah,
Utah.
No, we were like sisters. Everything was just, we were constantly laughing and we just really hit it off. It was just like we'd always known each other.
Yes. Like we'd known each other forever and a day.
Right. There was no adjustment period. It was
No.
just, yeah.
And we were
It was
shocked.
weird. Yeah, it was. It was like,
Yeah.
okay.
That's cool. So number
Like,
one, I mean,
this isn't normal.
No.
no, it's really cool, really cool. But of course, well, not of course. I mean, this is, if the story stopped there, it would be a great story. Even if that's where the story stopped, because many of our members find that they're in insecure housing situations, or even if they're not, it's a bit lonely and isolating not having a buddy. So getting someone to live with is just brilliant. It's brought a lot of joy and happiness to both your lives. So of course the story doesn't stop there. It keeps on going. So tell me what happened next.
We had agreed to give it a 2-week trial, and Lynmarie had planned to go home to visit her family in Illinois outside Chicago. And so in 2 weeks, she did that. I missed her terribly. And I felt like a part of me was missing.
It was. I was sitting on the plane going, I want to go home. Yeah,
Yeah, she was calling this place home.
already. Yeah.
Yeah, after 2 weeks. And that's not your style
No,
at
it's
all.
not. No, I no.
No.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, so she came, you were gone a week?
Mhm.
Yeah. And then shortly thereafter, I ventured forth. I couldn't get it out of my head. I just couldn't get it out of my head. When something pounds at your mind, and then finally, all right, I'll do it. And so I share on drive to Target, dogs in the back of the car. I told her, I brought up that I had been in a relationship with women before. Your turn.
Speechless. I was sure to run or what. Yeah.
And that was kind of a shock to you, Lynmarie, was it, or not? Was it just more just?
Oh, it was a big shock because that was never brought up before in any of our conversations.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, I had spent the previous 7 years going to a very strict fundamentalist church and was celibate, and that was the furthest thing. I had thrown that all out the window. And I reassured her that I wasn't sharing that because I was, asking for anything or wanting to direct things. It was just a big part of my past that I felt, for some reason, needed to be shared. So you got comfortable with it, didn't you?
Yeah. It was a quiet ride home, but yeah, after that we did a lot of talking and
Yeah, lots
a lot of questions. Yeah.
And because we even found ourselves wanting to snuggle, but it wasn't sexual.
No, it was all sisters. It was just,
We just needed to be that close.
yeah,
We still feel that.
yeah. Just that's, yeah.
Yeah, we just.
We're huggers.
So
yeah.
from that quiet ride home, then some kind of seed must have got planted. How did it then turn into something more, Lynmarie? Like, did you then raise it, or did it just naturally come about?
Well, I said that, and I told her I wrote pros and cons because I've never had luck with relationships because I've been married and divorced and a few marriages. Yeah. And I told her, I said, well, maybe, I don't know how I phrased it or something, but it was just like,
I don't remember.
never had any luck in past with men, so maybe
Maybe.
a possibility. So 5,000 questions and a lot of
Hours talking.
all night long talks and
Yeah.
yeah.
early morning.
Yeah.
And, with that snuggling, and I reassured Lynmarie that she was in charge of this, not me. It couldn't be me because it was all new to her, and it couldn't be my agenda because how would I know she wasn't just doing it for me? You know what I'm saying? That would be wrong of me ethically. So she held the reins. She was the one in control. We would snuggle in the morning. We'd snuggle at bedtime, and then I'd go off to my room with nothing happening other than the holding and the talking. And then, did I ask you if I could kiss you?
Yeah.
So much for her being in control.
I know it. And I was just afraid that I would let you down because maybe I wouldn't be where you were, or yeah.
And look, the for anyone who is watching, what I know and what people don't know is after that point, it obviously worked out because now you are married, right?
Yes, a year later, we married on the date. We made it. Oh, yeah.
We all know. So who popped the question to whom? I guess is the question.
Say again. Oh,
who popped the question to whom?
yes.
Alrighty, so both of you went from I've joined Stitch for friendship, and Lynmarie, am I right in saying you only ever had heterosexual relations before too? So even if you had been thinking about romance, this is not what you're. This was probably a million miles from what you thought you were going to get by joining Stitch. And I think what I love about this story is there's a few parts of this story that I think are really cool. Number one, we want to raise awareness that Stitch is for everyone, no matter who you are, what you're looking for, what your orientation is, whatever. It's for everyone. So this story is really cool for people who might be looking for, they're looking for same-sex relationships or whatever. Stitch is a welcoming environment for everyone, no matter what. But the other thing which I think underpins this story, if you even forget the fact that you're two women who end up together and surprise yourselves, what you ended up with was you were open to new things. So you didn't go into saying, I have to have this and this is the only thing I want. You just let it happen. And that's a lesson that applies to everybody, regardless of what you're looking for. We often say to people, I can't tell you the number of times people have said to me, oh, I thought I was looking for a partner of this age. But then only once I stopped looking for that, I then ended up with a relationship with someone who was a bit older or someone who's a different location or someone whatever. I thought I was looking for friendship. I ended up finding romance. I thought I was looking for romance. I ended up finding friendship. If we open up our expectations or we just decrease expectations, go, look, I'm just open to whatever happens, some magical things can happen. So I think that's true. That's part of your story, as well as this remarkable journey from, well, I joined for one reason and now I find myself. And before we had our call, I had an introductory call with you both a couple of days ago, and you shared with me some very exciting news. I think I was the first one you told. Why don't you share it with us on video now?
We just bought a house together.
Isn't that amazing?
Because this house is my house that she moved into. And while there isn't a room that doesn't have her incredible artistic and eye for beauty touch, it's still her asking my permission to make a change. And that this other house, new house, will be on 2 gorgeous acres, Andrew. That house is rural. And she has full reign. I will be the helper and the one who climbs the ladder for the tall stuff.
Love it. No, that's such a great story from where you were. And Lynmarie, thinking about living out of a van to now you've bought this beautiful house. I've seen pictures of it on Google Maps. It's really, really cool. So So look, I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being willing to share your story. I know it's a bit of a leap of faith. One thing I really, really liked when you mentioned to me the other day, because initially both of you said, oh, look, we want to remain very private. We're not really sure how people might react and so on. But then you came back a little bit later and said, no, actually, we are willing to tell the story because you found that people were far more supportive than you expected. Yes. Is that right?
Oh, big time.
You know who the most attendees at our wedding were? Our Stitch friends.
Yeah.
We had it Zoomed. Our officiant was Zoomed.
Yeah.
And another, Carla, right? Carla from Houston.
Yes.
We go to her groups. We adore her.
Oh, yeah.
And she set it up for us. And she ran the whole Zoom and sent out the invites. Daryl and Geeta were at our wedding.
Yeah.
Daryl and Geeta, for those who might not know watching this, they're from Melbourne. So we've got Houston, Melbourne, all over.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was.
Yeah. It's been a lot more support and a lot more. Because we were always going in this neighborhood going, we're just sisters, we're sisters, we're sisters. But now it's like, it's awesome. Everybody's behind us and everybody's happy. And
if they're not, they keep it to themselves,
yeah.
Which we appreciate.
Yep.
It's such a wonderful story. And in a world where if you listen to the news, you could be fooled into thinking it's always bad news. There's a lot of wonderful things happening, a lot of wonderful things that people do for each other, and particularly in the Stitch community. I love that. So you've just brightened my day enormously. I hope you've brightened whoever's watching this video. And thanks again. It's just wonderful. And I just looking forward to more stories from both of you in the future.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you. Thank you for getting Stitch off the ground.
Yes.